Hi, and welcome to a short introduction on how to start with PatentInspiration. First thing here, if you start in the opening screen, you have a box here that when you click on it, it will say, do you want a keyword, applicant, inventor, codes, number of all, or all. So I can say maybe a keyword, say fuel, say maybe diesel fuel. I put them in these hyphens, so it's only diesel fuel in one word, in title and abstract. Add that to filter, and what do I get? I get about, let's have a look, 9,000 patents. So this is where it's good to have tools, because we're not going to read 9,000 patents. You can here in the list view, but I would go to visualization. So I take this 9,000 patents, and then I can start to see what is in there. Quickly, there is bibliography, there's time, comparisons, maps, textual analysis, and innovation tools. For example, I could start and say, I want to know a bit who are the companies, the applicants, universities, and everything I want to know that I click on here will be in the background running for me. I could say I want to see how the applicants are doing over time, or I would compare, for example, which companies are working in which countries, or are actually applying in which countries, or which companies are working with which universities. Anything versus anything I could place. I have things like maps. I can map what elements they talk about, or materials, which areas or domains are they talking about diesel fuel. And then there is a very advanced text analysis. You can do things like what are, for example, the main adjectives which are in front of, say, for example, fuel. What type of fuels, you could almost say in claims and description. But you can do many things. You can ask the problems here, the glossaries, what are the main problems they talk about, what are the trademarks people talk about, things like that. Then units, a lot of units you can analyze, saying, for example, I want the power or the pressure or even the volume flow rate here, and add that. And then some tools here which are more related to innovation, which talk about what is trying to be modified in these tools, what is the values, the patent value or the value equation. So these are all kind of visualization tools, and then you can just scroll through them and say, these are the countries, for example. I can look in a country. Here, for example, say, here is Holland, 250 patents talking about diesel fuel in their title and abstract. And then you can go in detail, for example, into the actual patent, and that talks about here diesel fuel compositions. That's pretty straightforward. Nicer ones are, for example, to look at what are all the elements people talk about. So you see here, in these patents, they talk, for example, 19 times about uranium. You could click on that and then find where in this diesel fuel patents do they actually mention uranium. Here once in description, in here. XY analysis, here we have, for example, universities versus universities here versus companies here, and you can see who is working, for example, with Total, Fina 11, and then you see here Institut Français de Pétrole is working together. So many things like that. And every visualization, for example, if you take applicants' timeline, you will see over time here what the patents are in diesel fuel, but you can also change the visualization more like that, where you can say, I want to see them over the years, and click on them. And you can choose some to see and some not to see. Say, for example, you don't want to see Bosch. Okay, you unclick it. It will go out of your visualization. Or since it's a top, you could say, I also want to see, say, Phillips Petroleum. I will click on that, and it will add to my visualization, which is live. So you can click on them by looking into the patents, then afterwards into these diesel fuel mentioning documents. Yes, so the best way is just to start and have a look at what comes out. This is, for example, volume flow rates. This is, say, for example, in the patent, they talk about how much cubic per second here. You just click on a range of where you're looking at, and you will find all the patents that mention in their patent. For example, here, volume flow rate, it will analyze where it is 2 times here, for example, 10 gallons per minute converted and your visualization. Text analysis I like a lot because you can really see what type of things are there. For here you have the type of fuels, for example, additive fuel, heated fuel, conventional gaseous, and so on. You can play a lot with language to then find exactly what you're looking for. I've also opened domain maps. These show you basically all the patents, like a landscape, and where they talk about, for example, filters or fuel catalysts and so on. And they are zoomed out, but you can always go zooming in and looking behind the classification of patents, which players are, and you can even put them on there and say, for example, I want to see an applicant, for example, here, where is Shell? And if I compare that applicant with, for example, another one, which is, say, here, Chevron, it will show me where Shell is, where Chevron is. Both are, and where you are, not both, but one of the two. And then you can zoom in and then eventually also take the patents to look at that are of interest. So it's all given in a dashboard type, so you can always go back to the visualizations. It will be saved locally and go into, for example, here, what are they modifying in the fuels? They're trying to increase the efficiency, they're trying to attain number, whatever that is, and then decrease, for example, emissions and so on. It's already textually trying to find out what is going on in the patents, so you can quickly see what could be interesting for you. Very well, so there's much more to discover. Please enjoy the time on PatentInspiration. Thank you.